welcome back everyone. We are now starting our first Q&A session of the day. This is your chance to learn more about the speakers you heard this morning and early afternoon. On the panel here are Inigo Capellán Perez, András Gelencsér, Ugo Bardi, Cornélia Radic, and in a semi-moderator role, Ferenc Jordan. So please enjoy the discussion, and they will be answering the questions that were submitted throughout the day, so digging deeper into the big ideas and truths we've been discussing. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Balázs. It's a beautiful theme. I'm happy to be here. And my suggestion is that we have several questions to each of you, each of us. My suggestion is to have one question to each of you. I expect you to give a very clear and very short answer, and then we will see how much more time we have, okay? So let's have only... Maybe, András, can we start with you? Yes. Because you are sitting on the other side. Anyway, so one question is to you. Thank you. As a university professor, do students seek and ask for your opinion regarding our possible future, and how openly do you talk about it? So how do you communicate with the students at the university about the future?
My experience is that the young people are not afraid of the truth. In fact, they are much less afraid of the truth than kind of people like me, not of my age, because they have already something to lose. So they are just try to deny more. Escape into denial, but the youth, they really take the challenge, and they appreciate that I speak to them frankly. So I guess that the young are more open to these thoughts than people of middle age. And
they only listen to you, or they are part of participate? They are discussing.
They are interested. They are interested. They are open. I don't know how they change their attitude after, but they are open. They do not blame me saying such nasty things to them.
Anybody wants to add some experience with students, or not? Nothing relevant now? No, okay. Okay, so good luck for you with the students in the future. Inigo. There seems to be a push towards nuclear energy in many countries to support decarbonization. What do you think about this? So can nuclear energy replace decarbonization?
Where do you see a push on nuclear?
It's not my question.
Okay, I don't see a push of nuclear energy. I don't know if the person who asked is here to clarify. I mean, every 5-10 years there is like a call of renaissance for nuclear energy. When you look to the power installed in the world, is very stable. I don't know. The nuclear industry, I mean, the nuclear energy is totally dependent on military. So it's an excuse to develop military. So that's the reason, for example, when I talk about energy, I usually don't talk about nuclear because it's 2% of final energy, something like that. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. Its role in society is another one.
Okay, so you think it's not strong enough? Okay. Ugo, that's a fairly general question. Apologies for it, but what's the biggest danger to humanity right now? What is the biggest danger to humanity right now? Question 3. Question 3 here. What's the biggest danger to humanity right now? In 1 minute. 50.
Humanity, right?
No, I was...
Biggest danger to humanity. There are so many that I don't know how we could classify the risks because it is a systemic risk. The systemic risk means that the whole system might collapse, and if the system collapses, then there is no major risk, there is no minor risk, there is everything in a big mess, and you try to do the best you can to to move away from the worst. As Jeannie told us, it is a question of community and adaptation and try to survive, but I would not be able to classify risks.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else wants to add something to it, maybe? What is the biggest risk, according to others?
I think stupidity.
Stupidity, exactly. I just agree, yes. Okay, so, okay, problem solved, okay. QE. Question number 2 for you, okay? What about the early warning system in Hungary? Is it a functional system or not?
The meteorological service, which is not service anymore, but a private company, it's responsible for the public tasks to deliver. It's a very well-developed service with a very good observation network, with very good quality control of the data and the maintenance and the really to taking care for the quality measurement. It's very good. Also, the remote sensing, if I can use this word, the remote sensing system is very well developed. So the radars, the ceilometers, these are which are measuring the cloud height. The dysdrometers, which are measuring the spectrum of the raindrops or the precipitation drops, because it can be solid precipitation also. And so it's a well-developed service, fully automated service. The Hungarian service is part of the European cooperation, so Hungary is member of the EUMETSAT, the European Meteorological Satellite Agency, cooperating member of the ECMWF, the European Center of Medium Range Weather Forecast, and they are very active member of the EUMETNET. This is the European Meteorological Network. So I think in at least in the second pillar, everything is all right in Hungary, and also the information, the warning dissemination and communication is fairly developed. The disaster risk knowledge and the responsiveness, this is the part that I really cannot answer at this moment. I really hope that in the schools and everywhere we can share the information and the youngsters can be well prepared that what we face in the future and at the moment. And I think there is some room for improvement definitely on that part. But 3 years time I left Hungary, so I'm not well aware of every development what happened in the last 3 years. So that's why I'm not really brave to make a statement, but at least those systems are in place which are really needed for the early warning for all services.
And what do you think if you compare different countries of the same size, like Hungary, Slovenia, Estonia, I don't know, is there any big difference, or they are so much interdependent that they are functioning more or less the same way?
Weather does not recognize borders. Also not the climate recognize borders. So we cannot work independently. The international cooperation has a big role in the field of meteorology and climatology. On one hand side, we are stronger in some capabilities or capacities. We as Hungarian Meteorological Service, but on another side, we have some rooms for improvement, definitely.
Okay. A question to myself. I already made my choice. You mentioned that we are prisoners of our cultural habits. What would be the top 3 habits which you would choose or seize or break immediately? I give you my example. I mean, we can speak about culture at several levels, from individuals to humanity. For example, I was a passionate driver, and I sold my car, so I just used train. And I communicate it in a very tricky way. I don't tell to people that I use train because I want to minimize my carbon footprint. I say that I use the train because I can drink a beer anytime in my life. And that's one of the, that's very important. How do you communicate your changes? And also I live close to Vienna, and we have a very, very small garden. It's a big house with a small garden. We didn't cut the grass. And the neighbor wanted to call the police immediately because in Austria, order is very important for them. And they didn't call the police, but And that was a long negotiation how to manage the situation. We have a lot of insects, we have a lot of birds, we have many things in the small garden as well. These are very little things. Let's not talk again about overpopulation and everything, which are the higher level problems. But for example, I also don't understand why is it possible at all to use green areas for real estate investment, and why can we build a new mall in the middle of the forest or in the middle of the grassland? These should be absolutely banned immediately, I mean, from tomorrow morning. So we could do many things that we just don't do it for several reasons. Okay, Andreas, are you ready for another question, maybe? Do we still have time? 20 left or still 22 left? Left. Okay, many other questions. Okay, question 3. That's a very good question. From a merely physical perspective, could the idea to shoot up particles into the atmosphere to reflect a part of the sunlight work?
Yes, of course, the volcanoes do the same, and occasionally it happens in history, also in human history, that large volcanic eruptions cause cooling in the atmosphere for a couple of years, so that's absolutely feasible. But it's a scale that is impossible to do on a with human intervention, because it requires so much infrastructure and energy, and that doesn't pay off with these interventions. So it's these volcanic eruptions that have climatic effects inject some of around 20 million tons of sulfur into the atmosphere, which is approximately the annual emission of humanity. Mm-hmm. So that's impossible, and this is to the stratosphere. So all human emissions are taking place near the surface, but in order to have climatic effects, we need them lifted to the stratosphere, as volcanoes do. So to lift something to the stratosphere is a tremendous effort, energy, and material, and infrastructure, and everything that is absolutely meaningless.
So we are still weak and unable to do massive changes. Okay, well, these are just.
Yes, and there are many feedbacks in the climate system. So it's a very complex system in itself, like in the biological systems. That if you change something, that there is some other just goes wrong. So it's very difficult to intervene in a single way. With a single method to this very complex system.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And anyway, if we put a lot of diamonds in the atmosphere, maybe they fall down and we have to collect them, or how does it? I don't know. Anyway, good. So next question to Inigo. Are you ready? Fusion energy. What do you think about fusion energy? Can it be a solution in 10 years' time, or maybe longer? And can it delay the systematic collapse or not? No, it's Inigo, and all of you can answer if you want.
So yesterday we had this question. I will say more or less the same, and if anybody wants to complement. I'm not an expert on this type of energies, because mainly the reason is because they are always long term. No, we're talking not 10 years, we are talking decades, and the problems that we have are now. So I always see these technologies are, well, some speculation which are distracting from the real, let's say, problems. I don't know if anybody has here some insights specific about the technology or whatever.
I don't know whether it's worth doing so. I mean, to give some of the details, but it's next to impossible to make reliable fusion energy on Earth because of the conditions that are prevalent on Earth. It is going free and very well in the sun, but it doesn't need technology. It just needs mass of the sun and all these internal processes that are self-sustaining. But under the conditions prevalent on Earth, it's very difficult to reproduce fusion, and especially to maintain a stable operation that is absolutely out of our ability now. And I see that it will not happen in this century, I guess, until we have any sort of reliable energy source. And if there is any chance that it will be very, very highly complicated, requiring a lot of very specific materials, so you wouldn't have a pocket fusion reactor in your with you, so that's impossible. These are big infrastructures. Even these test reactors that are shown in ITER and all these jet or whatever name they are very complex, and they have only the plasma is like just a pin size plasma within a compartment of a large building. So that's a experimental reactor capable of boiling a pot of water or something. So that's it. To scale up, I think it would be an immense challenge.
And still there are startups, and many people make a lot of fortune based only on the idea, only on the dream.
Science, yeah, and also science, as I mentioned. So science is still keep on pursuing this business because it's huge. There are huge grants available for decades to come.
Thank you. Ugo, question. If we speak about the future, isn't it possible that the big elephant in the room is overpopulation?
Well, it's a good question because I'm writing a whole book on this subject. So I could discuss that with you for quite a while, but it is also something like taboo. You cannot say that there are too many people on this planet because immediately you are told you're going to exterminate them. Your people are exterminators. You want to kill every one of us. But the problem is solving itself. I'm assuming that you can call it a problem because it's simply an adaptation of the system to the conditions which have made it possible to have 8 billion people on this planet. Now the system is readapting to a condition in which very likely we won't be able anymore to have these 88 billion people. I can tell you that about more than 40% of the countries on this planet are declining already. Just to let you know, China is losing 1 million people per year. One Budapest almost, just Pest, not the whole Budapest, but disappearing. And that's something. And the rest of the world, there is about another 40% of the world, which is on the edge of decline, starting to decline soon. And it's about 20%, 25% of the world, which is still growing, but growing on a trajectory which will be bringing down to a trajectory of decline. So there is no more a problem of overpopulation. Eventually, although there will be a question of equilibration of those regions which are still growing and those regions which are already, in some cases, collapsing. Places like South Korea have a total fertility rate, which means the number of children per woman, which is below 1. Take into account that the replacement rate is 2.1. So they are making less than half of the children, the offspring, that would be needed to keep the population stable. So South Korea is essentially disappearing down. And Italy is 1.5. Now I don't know about Hungary, but we are in a region of the world which is declining, which is not in itself bad because it is an adaptation. Adaptation to what, actually? This is the big thing we don't know, what is causing the decline. Because there are two main explanations. One is that as women don't want to make children anymore. You ladies, you are very egoistic. You are interested only in your present welfare, maybe. Or it is a question of pollution, in which case it is bad. Because if it is a question of adapting by choices we make as human beings, not single persons, it's not women alone, they don't decide. It's a question of family, of extended family group, social groups. But if it is pollution, it is a serious problem because it's difficult to measure exactly what makes males and females infertile. What we can do is to measure the number of sperm cells on the average produced by men. That's not even the main thing. It's easy to measure. Just use a microscope and you count the sperm cells, and then you can extrapolate. If you extrapolate the current trends, there is a little, we know more or less what is the minimum number of sperms we need to create, to fertilize a cell. And there won't be any more children born before the end of this century. That would be some kind of a problem. I said that I would not classify the problem, but if we get into such a condition of pollution that children are not born anymore, at least by natural methods, you can always use artificial fertilization in vitro. And that I let you imagine what kind of society, what kind of world could be one in which children are born only in vitro, which is not impossible. Not impossible. And then you see it is not a kind of problem that you can solve by spraying diamonds in the sky.
So there are some mechanisms and some negative growth countries, but I still think that ecologists will open their Prosecco only if we are down to 1 billion and not before. But anyway, we'll see. Cornelia, a very practical question. What about summers in the Carpathian Basin in the next 5 to 10 years?
Good question. Before I answer the question itself, I would like to highlight that when we talk about climate change, we talk about basically averages, global averages or continental averages. It doesn't mean that every single point on Earth is warming, just the average, which is increasing. So that's why we have to take a special attention when we talk about global warming and we talk about climate change. The global warming and the climate change, these are not synonyms. The climate change is a very complex process which is rooted from the global warming. So that's why it's not easy to answer this kind of questions, but of course we can give answers. That how will the summer look like in 5 or 10 years' time? Definitely it will be in average warmer. In average we will face more heat waves. More, the length and the intensity of the heat waves will be stronger and longer. Definitely there will be a change in the precipitation. It means that the same amount, not in the amount, but the same amount will fall, but maybe just instead of, very slow rainfall for 10 days. Instead of this, we will face just thunderstorms, and we will have, as we could see, 200 millimeters in 1 hour, which type of water makes it very dangerous on one hand side because of the flash floods and landslides and this kind of extreme events. On the other hand side, it's not useful for the agriculture, definitely. So we have another problem on that side. But yeah, that's the future.
Mm-hmm. And of course, maybe not now, but we could speak about tourism and diseases, epidemics, and everything else, agriculture.
And invasive.
But the question for you was this.
Yeah.
Okay. One question to me again. I mentioned that mankind don't need to protect nature, and how could we help nature to protect us. Yeah, I want to make it a little bit clear. So protecting nature is not bad. I mean, conservation biology is not bad. It's good. I just don't call it a solution. So I don't think that at the scale of the whole planet it can help enough. For example, if biodiversity is decreasing, I don't think that the solution is to protect the species one by one. So somebody works with a panda, somebody works with a gorilla. That's not a solution. We have to work on the causes of biodiversity loss, like the loss of natural habitats, for example. And that's why I speak about rewilding and rewilding again, because we need a much, much, much larger amount of natural habitats. And then if we have it, then biodiversity will not decrease anymore, or at least not like this. So protecting nature is not bad, conservation is not bad, WWF is good, but it's not the solution. I mean, it's not enough. It's not enough. I think that many people who are the green people see the problem, saying they are quite hopeless. They don't really know what to do. So just to do something, they are collecting the garbage, or they do something useful just to do something, not to be passive. And that's not bad. I mean, maybe in education, psychologically, it's not bad. It's just not a solution. So we shouldn't expect nature conservancy and nature protection to manage the problem of biodiversity. We are very small for this. Okay, we have many other questions, but first of all, let me ask if anybody has anything to tell or to reflect to the others, or you forgot to mention something, maybe you to show more curves, or I don't know. Maybe you have something to tell. I mean, the last word. We have still 4 minutes. If nobody wants to say anything, I still have questions.
Maybe since we were discussing about nuclear things, I thought I could tell you something that it works. It works. Yes, I could tell you something that a friend of mine, Professor Sertorio, was saying about nuclear energy. He was not anymore with us, unfortunately. He was a nuclear physicist, one of the generation of the great nuclear physicists like Feynman, like Dyson, and these people. And he worked for many years in Geneva on these projects on fusion, on nuclear. And he was a real expert on this thing. And he said one thing. You see, he told me, Ugo, think of ants. Ants have limits to what they can do because they cannot manage certain things. Ants cannot manage fire, for instance. There is a movie, a cartoon you might have seen that with ants throwing fire matches at each other, but that's the real world. Fire is something so big, so powerful, and a different scale. Ants cannot manage fire. And he said, humankind is on the same level as ants with respect to nuclear energy. It's too complicated for us. It's too big. Needs so many subsystems, so many minerals. You remember Inigo was telling you about the minerals needed for renewable energy, but that's nothing in comparison with what you need for nuclear plants. It's huge. You need the whole periodic table to be used in that. So I think, honestly, it's with every time, as Inigo said, you have a return, a renaissance of nuclear, and it's one of those cycles of the universe. But it never really catches up because it's really too difficult for us. No, it's maybe a brief window. So we're rich and powerful enough to build nuclear reactors in the 1950s, 1960s, and then it declined. And then it will disappear because really it's too expensive and difficult for us.
Thank you, and thanks for all of you for all of the answers. We finish here, and thanks for, I don't know whom, for the questions. That's it.